Hello, and welcome to the Wizard's Respite Sanctorum, the show where we do a deep dive in all things TTRPG. Today, we're going to be having a little bit of a look back towards memory lane. About a year ago, we're a little bit late on this, but about a
Yeah.
year ago, we did a New Year's resolution sort of episode. We're going to take a quick look at what kind of things we did over the last year, and then what we want to do this coming year. What are resolutions for the gaming aspects of our lives we want to dive into, explore, and build out on. And we're basically gonna spend the next hour nerding out quite a bit on our hopes and dreams of the TTRPG quest that we're on here. As always, I say we, and I am joined by my co-host Zach. Zach from Old Man Gaming. How are you doing, man?
Hello, Zach Ryan from Old Man Gaming here. Very excited to do this. We can also go over. I do want to just say we did this show last year. It was the first time we had done a show like this. There was a miscommunication, and we literally did 3 resolutions in 3 different categories, so 9 resolutions total for each of us. So the idea was that we would keep track of these things and then revisit. I re-listened to that episode. Is it a chaotic episode? And it was very hard to keep track of anything. So we can
Also,
talk a little bit about what we got done. But this year we're going to do one GM resolution, one player resolution, and one game we want to play that we haven't played before.
Yeah. To be
the
honest with you, that was a miscommunication. I think that was actually on my part. I overdid it, as I am wanting to do.
Yeah, don't take it on your shoulders, because I think you said 3 resolutions total, but you wanted it from the categories, and I took it as 3 per category, and then chaos ensues. So I will say I got a good amount of my resolutions done, other than the games that I wanted to play. I don't think I touched one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the hardest part for our hobby, unfortunately. For so many reasons: scheduling, finding tables, finding players, all of the above.
True that. But I got Ordo finished. That was one of the things that was on my list. I got that finished. I got to play in 2024 because you did run Ordo Scriptorium, and Preston will live forever in infamy, even if we never play again, which I'm not going to let that happen. And then I think what else? There was a couple of GMs. I didn't get to do generational. I don't know when I'm going to get to do generational. But my 3 games were Rogue, Play D&D, and this Space Bounty Hunter game. Didn't play any of them. Not one.
Okay, yeah. And let me pull up my notes here. This was a year ago. And honestly, 3 resolutions is kind of insane. Even
3. It was 9 total resolutions when you think about it. Like, it's 9 total, and then 3 per category. So 3 resolutions is enough per category, or 1 per category. I think is a way better way of doing things.
Yeah. And if I remember right, some of mine, let me pull this up here.
One of yours was Spies, Mercenaries, and Private Eyes, which I still forbid you to play without me.
I know, and I haven't yet, which is definitely 100% on the list of things must do. It looks like such a fun game.
Did you get to play Be as a Crow? That was another one of yours, game-wise.
I did not. I did, from the GM category, I talked about the heist campaign a bit, and expanding that. I was able to work with that quite a bit.
Oh, nice.
And that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things about, working with mystery as a GM, and figuring out, how to bait, characters just enough so it keeps that mystery going, and that's the sort of aspect of the heist. What can they do, what can't they do,
right?
How did they get away with stuff? See, expanding what else did I end up doing? I've got my had some technical issues this morning trying to pull this up.
I think one of them was to Game Master single mod, which you did.
I did. That's right. I think you
got that one done. I think we both nailed that one. That was a 2-for-1 on
that
Ordo.
Was a 2-for-1, and let's see. So I still have a few more things from last year I would like to try to accomplish. I have another set. I think this last year having those resolutions was really good.
Yeah.
I've recognized I need to maybe like pull it back from like 9 possible resolutions
Yeah.
to be a
We
little bit more.
overdid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also got like a little bit of a glimpse of like what the nature of these resolutions like. I mean, like wanting to play so many games is great, and some of them are very doable, particularly if you're working on a solo.
Mhm.
Which the Crow one
Yeah.
is a solo game. I should be able to do that. I'm gonna do that. But trying to necessarily GM more games or I have to be a little bit more realistic. I have to be a little bit more like focused
Yeah.
on scheduling and getting players together and the like, because that is hard. That is, I mean, like the BBEG for every single table is scheduling. Like that is the evil that must be overcome, and
Yeah.
it's always easy. But I think that's probably that's going to be a part of my resolution this coming year, actually.
Well, and I
So
haven't made things easier because I've come to realize that with it comes to the video content for this channel, I am the center of the spider web, and when I am not in that center, nothing happens at all. And I mean, that's on me. I made it that way. But it's one of those situations where like I have to figure out how to balance this a little bit better than I have been. So right now, all I can get out is a couple of podcasts.
I think that's actually a good segue to come into what our plans for this year is.
Sure.
What we want to do, what we've learned, and why we've developed some of these plans a little bit as these goals. What our motivation for moving forward is. So how do we, which category do we want to start with? As the content creator, the GM, the gamer. Where should we start, Zach?
Well, the 3 categories we did last year was player resolution, GM resolution, and a game we wanted to play, and games we wanted to play. That's what we did last year. I'm not saying we have to stick tried and true to that. And we can always add a category if we want to, since we're only doing like 1 for each category. I don't mind. But that's what we did last year. I know that.
Okay. Why don't we start with player resolutions, things that we want to try to accomplish as players. From let's start with you. I got a couple of ideas, or do you want me to go first?
Does not matter to me. You're the leader, boss. You're the leader. This is your podcast. This is your show.
I'll start with my goal as a player, as things I want to accomplish. I've been playing, as you very well know, Zach, single mod. We have Astral Drive as a game. You guys, everybody out there can watch it. It's been a lot of fun. Right now, I think all of the games I'm playing as a player right now are actually with you, Zach.
No pressure.
Yeah, I know. So hint, GM.
Yeah, I gotta find time.
Yeah, no, I know. That, like I said, scheduling is the big bad. But as a player, things that I want to accomplish as my character, Alfred White Castle / Alistair Crowley. He's a vampire, space vampire, and a fantasy sci-fi, epic that we're going across this galaxy, this system, planet hopping and trying to uncover things. I want to try to develop this character a little bit more. One of the greatest challenges I've had with this character and things that I've enjoyed as this character trying to accomplish is transitioning him from kind of being a complete psychopath. And I mean that in a very orderly, like, Hannibal Lecter-esque sort of way. He's a vampire. He consumes other entities to assimilate their DNA and live forever. But he's starting to develop like a friendship with the other characters and players. And I'm really looking forward to opportunities to expand his nature with my fellow players. We're really good at riffing with each other and talking with each other in character. And I'm really wanting to find ways of developing this player, this character, into a person who's somewhat torn between his nature and his friendship. Because he's never had friends before. He's been kind of like this lone wolf sort of entity that just sort of survives. And now he has to work with other people for the first time, and he's realizing for the first time that he kind of likes these people. He doesn't really know what that means, and I really want to play with that as a character. So basically, a lot of role play. That's what I'm focusing in on this year. Is less, necessarily strategic, uh, min-maxing, character stuff like that, building out the numbers, but more focusing on the character and character development as we move through this story.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, he's a very interesting character, right? Because he is this character who has. I mean, he's basically immortal. He's been alive longer than any other character, but he's spent almost all of his time pretending to be somebody else. One way or another, hiding from people, not getting involved or attached to people. Kind of,
Well,
I mean,
survival.
yeah, he comes from a race that is literally at odds with the entire universe in that game. So, excuse me, everybody. So he's in a weird situation where he's always been adverse to basically every other sentient creature out there. And now he has these kind of allies who, I mean, heck, if I recall correctly, Nullus knows what he is now, right?
He does.
And he's okay with it, which that's like a completely new experience for Alfred, that and having people that he feels responsible for, like even the fact that he feels responsible for Brian's character Jared is interesting, just because he wouldn't normally feel responsible. You know what I mean? Like you've already brought a lot of emotion and interest into that character, and I think like as we go down the rabbit hole of what he is and how he has to interact with the universe around him, it's just going to get more interesting.
I'm really looking forward to fleshing that out. The RP on this, the role play, is really like what I've been sinking my teeth into and what I'd like to do more of. One thing that I tried to do so far was establish a little bit more character and why he's doing that. Vampires are sort of come from this nobility sort of place in society before there was an uprising, and then they had to flee and hide for their lives, as the entire galaxy is now trying
they were the problem.
They were the monsters.
They were the monsters, and now we're at a situation where the entire, they're basically getting their comeuppance as a species, and it is not pleasant.
And my character was, as I wrote him, was a child during this point. I didn't want him to be too old. So he was kind of a child as the transition happened, the war with the vampires happened, and he lost his entire family during that point, and he's only ever known a life where he's been on the run. But he does remember, aspects of being raised and trained to be this noble in this macabre, sort of hierarchy, this macabre fiefdom. And so to make this work in his mind, I set up an idea where he's taking on these individuals, his crew, as members of his fiefdom, like they're his property. Because that's how he would have been raised in a noble fiefdom structure, as a nobleman. These are basically his property, his food, or what would have been his food or his property, his servants. He never really grew up in that world, but he had to make it work in his head to be caring about these people, to be responsible for them. And now he's trying to make these associations of what is a friend versus what is my serf,
Yeah.
And I'm having fun with that, and I hope that the other characters are having fun with it too. I really enjoy riffing with the other players, and hopefully everybody else out there that watches the show also enjoys the weird arc that this vampire is going down.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
So what do you got, Zach?
For player? Player's tricky. Player's tricky because I'm only playing in a couple of games now, and I'm game master in so many. Um, I think I think my biggest player thing is probably going to be the next player. I want to be a straightforward character. I have this obsession with making characters really complex, and and for whatever reason, this has put them at odds with every party that I've been with. Like it just does. Like I make them and I think they're cool, and then all of a sudden, they're the bad guys, or they're the antagonist to the rest of the party, or they're a problem. You know, Preston. Uh, I think more than half my party wants to punch me in the face almost all the time. I have this other character in my private game called Bomani, who is just a terrible drug lord, and I went off the rails on creating him, and then now I'm playing him, and I'm like, this guy is a nightmare. Why did I do this? And he's so at odds with the player characters that it's like, man, and it's the same group that I played shotgun in, and it's just like.
Mm.
It's like, how do I always end up at odds with everybody here? There's just my only straightforward character is Zeke, which is my mage. But I think the next character I play, I want to try and make somebody subtly complex. Somebody who fits into the party, but still can create interesting moments of roleplay. And I think that I've been having a hard time with that overall. Like I always create a guy who's like, who somebody has to make good, or somebody has to or is evil, and they have to figure out a way to deal with him or something. And it's just it's weird. It's almost like I'm always creating these characters that are going to create their own storyline by themselves, but that isn't always good. It doesn't always fit in. My wife likes medical dramas, and we've been watching one on Netflix called The Resident, which is less about the like kissy stuff and more about like corruption in the medical industry and stuff like that. But they do this thing where they introduce a character and they just make him the worst character ever. And then it's almost like the writers are like, okay, now that everybody hates him, how do we make everybody like him? And it's like a challenge that they keep doing for themselves. They've had like 4 characters like this, where they're like, here's this person, they're terrible nightmare people, and then you immediately hate them, and then like 2 seasons later, it's like there's a redemption arc, and somehow they're coming back, and you're like, I really like them, now I get it, you know? Almost like they're making challenges for themselves. I feel like I have the same disease when it comes to making characters, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna make the worst dude, but he's got a heart of gold. You just got to get there, and it's like maybe I should just make the character be a good guy. I've never played a self-righteous character. I've never played like hyper-religious cleric. I've never played any of those like those kind of stables in role playing, where it's just like, I am the knight. I've never played one of those, and I kind of feel like I could, but I'd have to be trickier with the role playing so that it's not just a cardboard cutout, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to see what that would look like. So I think that's my player resolution.
That's a good one and really interesting. I love playing those types of really flamboyant, like obnoxious characters. Also, some of my favorite characters I've ever played have fallen into that.
I think it's a GM thing, man. I think it's because we're thinking like, oh, what do we make that's gonna be really crazy, and then you get in there and you're like, oh, I made an NPC for one of my games, but I made him a character, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And playing like I call them the Superman mold. Doesn't have to be necessarily the Man of Steel, like Invincible, right, but more of the character, the quality.
Yeah.
I played a couple of them a couple of times. I had a player who GM'd. Long story short, I ended up with a character that kind of needed to be that mold, the Superman-esque, always doing the right thing mold. It was actually very, very challenging. My knee-jerk instincts were to not follow that
Right.
mold very well. And it was interesting because of, one, I'm not used to playing that, but also two, the GM kept putting us in social situations where being the good guy was not the best option necessarily.
Mm.
um Being the righteous one that stands up and does the right thing could get you killed, could put you into trouble. So I had to really think outside the box on, okay, he's not an idiot, he's not going to go and do something that gets everybody killed, but at the same time he can't be a bad person either.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's a
It,
gray line that you have to figure out,
it's
and
like
it's tough.
Captain America. Like when Captain America is really good, really well written, that's what it is. It's like, okay, he's the paladin, he's the symbol of freedom, he's great, but he has to find these gray areas. And like when he's presented with those, it's like, how does he deal with this? And when Captain America is good, that's what Captain America is. When he has to like fight against the government that sponsors it, like stuff like that, like that's when Cap is really good. And I feel like that's the kind of like character I'd like to play at some point, like some kind of stand up knight sort of character. I do have one mage who's kind of heroic. He's my old man mage Zeke, who I love. I surprised everybody at the table because our personal game went through some transitions over the holidays as well, and two of the games I really wanted the game master to be able to play. He runs like 3 game sessions a month, and they're 3 different games, and I really wanted him to be able to play, and we had been down for a while, so I was like, listen, give me one of those sessions. Just give me one of those sessions. I'll game master one. So I am now running a pirate game for everybody, which I'm very proud of. It's been a lot of fun. I'm crafting a whole backstory universe too, which is really great. But like, because of that, 2 of the World of Darkness sessions are merging into one, and
Okay.
everybody had to decide what characters they were going to play. Like, are you going to play this character or are you going to play that character, because you can't play both. And I picked Zeke, and everybody's like, why wouldn't you pick Bomani the drug dealer? And I was like, look, I have a lot of fun with Bomani, but he's also terrible, and he leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. He's an awful drug slumlord. Like, he's not a good person. And while he's fun to play and fun to do the voice and fun to participate in, I walk away from the table feeling like I need a shower. Like, Zeke is there for everybody. He's just an old man who wants everybody to be happy, and like in a world that's literally going through an apocalypse. And I'd rather play that guy. So like in that respect, I have that. But like, I don't know. He's also kind of old and jaded himself. I'd love to play like a young, like, haha, I'm gonna do the right thing sort of character, like a classic anime hero character or something like that.
Yeah.
So what are we moving on to next, leader?
Okay, so these are things that we want to try to accomplish as players. Let's move on to our roles as GMs.
Okay.
What kind of things are we trying to get done, or try, or do, or experiment? What's our GM hopes and dreams? Um, this is a tricky one. I have like a lot of honestly modules that I'd like to get going here as a GM. Lots of different things I'd like to experiment with. I think every GM out there probably does.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Your brain is always tinkering with something.
Mm-hmm.
As a GM, though, there's one thing I would like to run. I would like to do for a friend this year. I would like to run a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition one shot for you, Zach.
For me?
Yes, that was your goal from one of your goals from last year.
It was one of them, yeah.
We never got to it. I really want to try at least a one shot, a 4-hour, total kind of game session, or game, compact, runs through it, a lot of fun, and I want you to get an opportunity to play 5th edition, which you haven't played yet.
I would love to. I think I said it in our thing last time, your Friday night private game session, I would be in that if it was any day other than Friday. Because Friday is just too hard to like be like to work out.
Right.
But yeah, that would be fun. I don't think I give D&D a fair shake, so I would love to give it a try.
Yeah, yeah, and with these one shots are a lot of fun to do. You can like experiment with it, throw a character in there, and if hopefully experiment enough where you get a really good idea of how the system works,
Yeah.
how it flows, and walk away with at very least, knowing that you really played like the character through all the way
Yeah.
through. You know what the game is. Um,
Well, and
I
I
think
have
that
an idea thanks to Baldur's Gate 3, which
that's
is
true. Yeah,
very, very D&D heavy.
you're walking in with at least a little bit of experience
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Have you played that game yet? Now that
I
you've got
have
the
not.
PS5?
I have
Might be
not.
better that you haven't, because it might eat you. I'm not gonna
That's
lie. It's a
that's my
consumer of time and souls.
that's the reason why I haven't played it. That's the reason why like I don't dive too much into video games, to be honest with you. I get too far. I already get sucked into too many things,
I get it.
and those games, man. I'll look up and like it'll be 4 o'clock the next morning. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When you get a really good one that sucks you in, yeah, it can eat your time. Eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So GM one. I would like to continue Astral Drive and potentially finish Astral Drive, at least the campaign, which would basically be the entirety of it. We've got a lot to play through as far as it goes. Like, that game is a beast, as far as what we have left to do, even with what we've already done, which is a lot. But it's one of those games that I love. I love the players in it. All three of you guys just knock it out of the park. And I would really, really like to get to a point where, like, I can say that's done. We've finished it. And or at least the campaign.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I would say Game Master wise, as silly and crappy as this is, I would just like to get more Astral Drive done. The real trick is figuring out the schedule, because right now I wake up at 5:30 in the morning to drive a van for the school district, which is great. I'm not complaining at all. I'm making relatively good money. And I am I've got all the time off that my daughter does, but it makes staying up when we usually record these things rather difficult. Astral Drive usually didn't start till 9:30. I usually go to bed like 10 now. So staying up for Astral Drive would be very difficult. So I need to kind of get used to things at work, and once I'm used to things, maybe start figuring out, like, maybe we take a Saturday a month, all four of us, and we record from like noon to 4 or something, or something like that, and just like do it that way, and have and I cut it into 4 episodes, and then those come out bi-weekly, and then that gives us a whole nother 2 months to get another recording in. I've got to figure something out like that. Like, I've got to figure that out, because like, part of me is like, oh, the summer will come and I'll be able to stay up, but I really can't, because then I'll throw my whole schedule off. I could do it like once a week, but like, we also have a ton of other stuff to record. Like, we have to get through Ordo Scriptorium, the second hunt, and I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want to do a third hunt. I know I do. I would like to do yeah, I would like to do a second season of ID. I would like to do I would like to keep Turtles going at some point, get that going again. So there's just a lot of stuff in the chamber, and figuring out, like, prioritizing what we're going to record, I think Astral Drive will be one of them. We just got to figure out the timing and the scheduling and all that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that's my resolution would be get Astral Drive going, and get it all, get at least to a point where I'm happy that we could end it. Because you guys aren't even really in season 3 yet. Like, I know we called it basically the end of season 3, but season 3 doesn't end until you guys are done with that dungeon. Sorry, season 2 doesn't end until you guys are done with that dungeon. So, or at least part 2 of the campaign. So,
yeah. I'm definitely. I'm glad to hear that, because I mean that was my first. As a player, my first thing that I wanted to do was jump back as Alistair.
Well, and I know, I'm sure, just given all of our experiences with role-playing games, I know that all the players are like, oh, all of this is done. And, like, I don't want that to be the thing. I don't want people out there to be thinking that, because it's not all done. It's just, I got to figure some shit out. Like, it's just that simple. And, like, until I figure that shit out, it's just on hiatus, you know?
Yeah. You know, like I said, you know, the big bad for the game table is scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
Life gets in the way. There's always something that comes up.
Really does.
But we'll figure it out. And if nothing else, I'm sure you got 3 players that are probably going to pester you until we can jump back at that game table.
I don't want to let you guys go. Like, I really want to get through that. I was having so much fun with the procedurally generated dungeon, which is just the way I'm doing dungeons from now on, without a doubt. In the pirate game, I use that in the pirate game, my private pirate game. I made up a table of just like what could happen to you at sea, what you could run into at sea, what the weather would be like at sea, how big would the waves be at sea, like all of that, so that every day they're at sea they can roll on those tables, and everybody fucking loves it. Yeah.
Random tables are a lot of fun at a table, especially if you're able to do it quickly.
Yeah.
They add so much dynamic to the game.
There is one player at the table who loves to roll on tables too. Like, it's his favorite thing to do. Like, it's funny. I've got all the players pegged. There is Jeremy likes to roll on tables and likes loot. Johnny wants character development. He wants it so bad, like he will hurt his character for character development and long form character. He's the game master from the other games, which is why I wanted to give him a long form one. Josh wants to make 37 characters, so I have to make the system severe enough that it'll kill him every once in a while. Corey just wants to do a job. He just wants to be a guy who does a job, and that's it. Ben wants to survive. Like, that's everybody's goal at the table.
Gotcha. Okay. It's funny that you have one character that wants to like churn through one player that wants to churn through characters left and right, and another character that just doesn't want to die.
I really enjoy the doesn't want to die's character in my game so far. I have had words with that player. I think we've actually had some very low key arguments about role playing. Because he's a good role player, but he's so afraid of his characters dying. And it's like, man, this is a game. Nobody's actually dying. Like, I get that you don't want them to die, but like he has one character that just hides in a basement. Like, that's his entire thing. And then when that basement gets found out, he moves to another basement. And it's just like, what are you doing here? Like, you drove from your house and you're sitting in here for 6 hours. What are you trying to accomplish? Like, what is the goal here? Like, the character's a hunter. I don't think I've ever seen him hunt anything. He just hides from things. Like, and I've had those conversations with him. Like, there was another character that he played too in the shotgun thing that was just always afraid of everything. And it's just like, there's no character development in fear. It can be a catalyst for character development, but just straight fear for the sake of fear isn't going to get you anywhere. And he's really good at role playing. It's just he will hamper himself by being afraid that his character is going to die. And like me, I love it when a character dies. Like, I love it because, I mean, even if it's a character I love, I'll be sad about it, but it's an end. I've ended the story. I've closed the loop. How many role-playing games, how many characters have we all played where you never get to close the loop? You never know how that guy's going to end. You never know what story he's going to resolve. You never know where he's going to be. When a character dies, no matter how terrible or stupid or crappy, he's dead. I know his story is over. It's completed. I have accomplished that goal. I have taken him to the end. Like, I'm happy about that, you know?
Absolutely. Like, my favorite thing, honestly, like I almost kind of prefer my characters to die by the end.
Yeah.
because it is like that nice little closure. It's also like it's not about whether necessarily they live or die, but if they do die, how they die.
Mm.
Like it's gotta like just
Mm.
work with the story. You know, is he like the kind of guy that would sacrifice himself?
Yeah.
Is he that kind of guy that just is so selfish where he's gonna leave everybody to their death, but end up
Right.
dying himself? Like that, get that
Yeah.
comeuppance, you know? What kind of person is he, and does he die in the way that befits him? um that is the type of characters that I like to end my characters that way, and
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. It's the best. But
It's absolutely the best. And
so you've
honestly, when
also
I finish a campaign with a character and he's not dead, there's still in my head like, what happened to him after that? And
yeah,
like that'll drive me nuts sometimes. Even though I know the story's wrapped up, I know he's not there anymore and he could live happily ever after. There's still a part of my brain that like, what happened to him next? And
does he
like,
just go to a tavern and
right,
drink all day and
right,
like,
right,
you know, is he really that kind of guy?
right. Like, what is he doing now? Like, I think that like when a character dies, and especially if they die good, it's great because it's like, yep, cool. I'm gonna make a new character. This guy's done. I don't have to worry about him anymore. He's out of my head. Like, he's not this weird like itch that I've got to scratch every so often. Yeah, I like it when the characters die good deaths. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. The last segment, the last New Year's resolution that we want to go into, which was let me get a little reminder. Okay, so the any games that we want to play this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Um,
This is tough.
anything. You know what? It's not tough for me.
Okay,
I know
bring it on.
exactly what I am. I want to play Ordo Scriptorum as a player.
Oh shit! You haven't played that yet.
Yeah, and
That
I
was
would
another game that I
love.
got to run for you.
I know, at least a one shot. I would love an opportunity to make up a author, you know, with the powers of you know the gothic authors inspired by them to run down like a monster in the 1950s to investigate, try to solve a supernatural crime and battle the forces. That's it's such a fun idea. There's so many characters to play. There's so many different ways to play these 1950s characters. I'm a little jealous of you guys, my players playing Ordo Scriptorum, because you guys are looking like you have. I have a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I love being a GM, but I would also love at some
Yeah.
point
Well, we
to
had a
be
group
a
lined up
player.
for you too, because you had a couple of friends you wanted to get on the channel. Plus, we had Jackie, and like all of them are interested in the game. I tell you what, you finish editing Forbidden Tome, and I will the Forbidden Tome, and I will 100% game master for you. We just got to find the time. We'll
Sounds
organize
good.
it, run it. But yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, yeah. I've got another one that's off the chart too. Like it's not a game that we have in front of us that we purchase or anything. So little background here. One of the first RPGs I ever created was this game I call Badass Metal. And it was kind of loosely like we played Mechton for a really long time. My group when we were younger lads, chaps in high school, and I hated the system, but I made up a lot of stories about it. And then eventually, I just decided to make my own system and take the stories that I was telling in Mechton into my own kind of universe. And that thing just like survived among a bunch of people, amongst the high schoolers, to the point where there were multiple times where I came to hate it and like moved away from it. I did multiple different versions of it. We played it online through message boards. We played it in person. We would play it all sorts of different places. And then finally I, said goodbye to it and walked away. But recently I just kind of like been struck with this need to kind of like put it out there in its like original badass metal-y form. So I started writing it, kind of writing a new version and just a totally encapsulated version of it, like the entire history of all the species and all the races and all the things in it, and write it from like an insane person's standpoint, so just swear while I'm writing the book and stuff. Like, and I started writing that. I would like to play that at some point this year. I would the newer system. Interestingly enough, the system kind of worked really well for the pirate game, so I actually kind of know that the system kind of works. But yeah, because I used that system over on the pirate game, and it actually kind of works. It's really weird as a guy who makes a lot of systems when it comes to games. I tend to get sick of the systems that I put the most work into. And like single mod, I've just played so much now. Like, I'm ready to kind of do a different system, and which I kind of can't. But yeah, so it was kind of nice to do a different system. But I'd like to actually play that at some point this year. Maybe even release it. That would be even nicer. But yeah,
that'd be a blast.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's gonna be it's got a lot of writing to go, and I had to kind of stop to write the pirate game for my people, and then I got out of control with the pirate game, and I've already written like half a novel just on the religions, so it's gotten a little ridiculous as far as the pirate game goes, but yeah, so I need to switch back over to that, write that, and then hopefully play it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to reading that. And
hope you're looking forward to editing it, because I'm going to ask you to edit it.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun. I haven't had much experience with a lot of mech games. And if it's transitional between to a certain degree to this pirate game, like what kind of mechanics, just out of curiosity, were you able to sort of transition over?
It's really interesting. So, well, the system is extremely severe. It was way worse back in the day. Like, it was like you got hit and you died, like that kind of thing. What I ended up doing is it's kind of this weird substat D20 D6 system. So it's D20 plus a stat to hit, to defend, whatever. But you also get these extra points to do maneuvers, like full evade, full block, that sort of thing. And you get that from rolling skill rolls, which are all D6s, with 5 and 6 being successes. Okay. So 1/3 chance of successes. The really cool thing that I enjoy about it so far is the skill system, and I never had this when I made the game originally. But let's say you needed to do an action that wasn't combat, that you're trying to just check your skill against, right? What you would do is you would roll your skill, the level of your skill in D6s, looking for successes. I would tell you the difficulty, but the difficulty is the amount of D6s I'm going to roll against you. It's not necessarily a set difficulty. So I could tell you the difficulty's 10, and you only have a 3 stat, a 3 skill. That's fine, but I could roll 1 successes out of my 10 dice, and you could roll 3 successes. You'll accomplish it. So there's no limit to what you can beat, and I don't roll till you roll. So the other thing about it too is if you want to get help, I want to pick this lock. All right, well, it's a really tough lock. It's difficulty 8. All right, well, I only have a lock pick skill or whatever of 3. Okay, roll your dice. I only got 2 successes. Okay, well, Chet over here has a 5. He's gonna help you, so now he gets to roll his 5, and then that's against me. And then I don't roll till we resolve the skill roll. But yeah, and then combat works on kind of like a weird versatility system, where you have a certain number of versatility points, and that versatility depletes as you do actions. But if you deplete it all the way down, you become exhausted and you get into trouble with defenses and stuff. So the
Okay.
idea is you are trying to find a sweet spot of doing multiple actions without running out of your versatility, but you have to be careful because some of the actions your opponent can do can bleed your versatility dry. And the way that I like
Hmm.
the other thing about the system that kind of carries over is, well, the non-carryover thing is the mecha system. And when I originally designed it, and this one too, I hate that if you play a mecha role-playing game, there's always one, maybe two stats. Those are the stats you need to be good in the mecha. So, like, if you have
Okay.
a high reaction, that's what you use for the mecha because everything else is the mech. Like, it's like how strong the mech is. It's how strong, how armored the mech is. So you don't need to be tough or armored or whatever. And I always hated that. I hated that in mech games that there's no synergy between the character and the mech. There's just this like arbitrary stat for the player because then you railroad every other stat because you know you're going to be in mechs all the time. So you railroad every stat and you become the greatest mech pilot ever. You know.
Yeah.
So what I did with Badass Metal was I made it that every stat in some way, shape, or form affects your mecha, and there is a synergy with it. So like
Ah.
your base damage adds to the mech's base damage. So if you're physically strong, you'll do more damage in the mech. Your react is how well you hit and dodge, yes, and there's no synergy there, but your mech speed is how well it can get away from things or attach to things. The endurance between you and your mech are added together. So if you are more enduring, your mecha survives. Intelligence doesn't carry over, but intelligence gives you skill points, so that kind of carries over because you need skills to operate the mech in the first place. And then I had torque and versatility. So like, let's say your versatility is a 30, like you can do 30 versatility points worth of actions, but your mech is not as versatile, and it only has like a 20. Okay, well now you can only do 20 because
Oh.
you can't do more than your mech will allow you to do, basically. And vice
Yeah.
versa. If you have less than your mech, you're not maximizing your mech's potential. So that was the trickiness of that system and what I'd like to carry over here. Obviously that didn't carry over. I also added a bunch of like close combat fighting techniques because I wanted fencing, like it had to be more about the close combat battles than the mech battles, you know?
Okay.
Like the original game was all about the mech battles. If you fought somebody outside of a mech, it was like 2, maybe 3 hits, and that was it. And nobody really cared because you didn't do that often. You fought in the mechs. But but this has to be more about the swashbuckling. So I had to put a lot more thought into, you know, techniques and blade techniques and stuff, and that was a lot of fun too.
Well, that sounds like a really fun game. I'm already getting jazzed.
Right? It's exciting. I actually
Man.
almost like the pirate version of it more than the mech game right now.
I mean, it sounds like there's a that. I mean, so when it comes to the pirate version, just out of curiosity, since you did make this transition, like, does any of like those skills or transitions, like you were just talking about, how like there's synergy between the mech and the
Yes, it got a
pilot?
lot
Is it?
trickier, and I think that's going to take refinement. But basically, like, you're put in a position. That position is the synergy that's required. So,
Like on the
like,
ship?
yes. So like where you are on the ship, like the ship, like yes, the ship's like a mech, but it's like a mech that takes 6 people to pilot it. So like you need that shipwright skill if you're the quartermaster. You need that gunnery skill if you're on a cannon or the cannon sergeant. You need the captain skill. You need the react if you're at the helm. You know, stuff like that. But the ship is much more like played a little bit more like a mass battle. Like the way, like I said, we haven't really had any good ship combat yet to really know how close this is. But the way it's supposed to be is the captain gives all the orders to all of the players. The players decide to do those orders or not, but the captain shells out extra points based on a captain's skill roll that they make. And then those extra points get disseminated to whoever needs them, to whoever the captain thinks needs them, and then each person kind of rolls for their individual thing that they've been ordered to do, and then the other ships do the same. And then yeah,
I love
that's
that idea.
yeah,
There's I've seen a lot of different like ideas thrown out for ship to ship battle. Because I've really like there's been a part of me that's been wanting to do a
yeah,
airship
yeah.
RPG for a really long time. I've been struggling with it, to be 100% transparent. There's so many things to think about,
There is.
but one of the things I love is that kind of mechanic where there's synergy between the characters working the ship and how they can kind of feed off of each other, and they're all working together towards a goal. I've played a very like limited version of that, and I loved it as a
Mm-hmm.
player. And I love that idea where everybody has their station. I love the idea of the captain helping disseminate like bonuses to
Yeah.
characters by his command. I think that's a great use of a captain on a ship and the captain mechanic. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I'm really excited about the experience points because with ship combat, the experience points are disseminated by the captain as positive or negative influences. So the players can do role playing to respond to how much experience points the captain decides to give them. So if they have a ship battle and they win that ship battle, the ship gets like 200 experience points. The captain can give it all to himself, or he can give 50 here and then 10 here, or he can give, and then the players have to decide. But the players get to react to that give. That's basically how the captain is talking to you and how he is conveying to you the information about the battle and what he thinks. So if you're not getting a lot of experience, that's basically the captain saying you're worthless and you can mutiny. Like it gives you reason to role play a mutiny basically if you want to. So
It's so awesome.
yeah.
That is that's such an interesting like
Yeah.
thing
I was really
for
proud of it.
RP section.
Because I was like, I want to force that like captain relationship with the crew. How do I do that? Oh, I'll make experience points basically like loot. And
Yeah.
who gets the share is the smallest share is the one you got to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. That's really fun. And I could see like certain players. You'd have to have a good table. You have to let the players know what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could definitely see like a player who's like getting like shit canned for loot, squirreling that away towards skills that are not related to his post, but rather related to being able to effectively mutiny.
Yep.
Um, and then from there, like that gets kind of interesting because as you move forward with that character, they're getting worse at their job, but they're getting better and they're putting more energy into establishing.
Yeah. It's been
That
really interesting because I expected them all to be a crew, but they've already split up into like three different parties. And one of them is just one of them just left the island, and I was like, "All right, I guess you're gone." Like stole the ship and left the island like bloody pirates. I was like, I think you guys got the spirit of this too much. So if they were all in the same crew, I'm pretty sure it would be like a mutiny every session.
that's
depending.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We ranted about my thing way too long on that one. But I think that's it. I think we're done, right?
I think so. I think we've made a good show. I think we have a lot of fun ideas for the future, both as are just as gamers in this space, and as far as like producing stuff for these videos. I think we have a lot lined out for us and a lot of figuring out to do, but I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, there is. I mean, keep a watch on this channel. We will get some content out. It's just going to take time. It's going to take some scheduling. And yeah, we just have to adjust basically, and we will.
We're getting into it. We're getting into the phase where we can get that stuff sort of moving forward. We're gonna be, this is our second episode of this year. I think we're starting to settle in on a way for us to get back and do these bi-weekly. We took a little break from December. Things got crazy. Decembers are always crazy.
Yeah.
But I think we're ready to move forward and have a lot of fun here.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, any shout outs before we hit the road today, Zach?
No, like I said, channel's a little light on content right now. You can check out Wizards Respite Sanctorum bi-weekly on Old Man Gaming or on wizardsrespite.com. Give us both the view by just going to wizardsrespite.com. You can also check us out on Spotify. Of course, if you are a video gamer and have interest in that, you can check out the Horrible Gaming podcast. I do that with Neil. And that is back as well. We're trying to do it weekly. It's not always going to be weekly, but we've already put out a couple episodes, so we're kind of back. And then OMGM is on forever because we pre-recorded so many of those that even though we're not recording, I think we've got episodes all the way through May or April or something. Wow. It's crazy. So that comes out every Thursday, and that's just me and Grandpa Gamer booking against each other in 2K24. So check those out right now. There's more content on the way, both TTRPG and video game. We're just not there right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and my last shout out, you guys can watch all of these at wizardsrespite.com. We also have articles there that are pertaining to both gamers and content creators trying to put TTRPG content out there. We also have TTRPG themed t-shirts.
Yeah.
And we got games up there. You can buy the Ordo Scriptorum there. You can buy the Poisoner's Handbook up there, and hopefully we'll have some more that we can start dropping here. But yeah, so thanks to everybody out there for listening. We're going to be coming back in 2 weeks talking about all things TTRPG again. And until then, keep rolling them dice.